Hi, this is Phil Landers, designated broker at Keller Williams Real Estate Company. Today we're going to have career conversations with Phil where we're going to showcase our top agents. We're going to be learning about their systems, their strategies, and their mindsets on building big businesses. We're changing lives and living the dream. Welcome to this edition of Career Conversations with Phil. Today, our special guest is Mr. Mark Simpson. Mark, welcome to the studio.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Man, it's our pleasure. So, Mark, let me ask you a couple of questions. We're just going to jump right in there.
Super.
Mark, what were you doing before real estate?
Well, I professionally, I had been a therapist, a marriage and family therapist for 22 years.
Got it.
And I had transitioned out of that. I had started a wellness company and had taken a few years with that, and things were shifting a little bit, and thought, what's my next thing? And lo and behold, I ended up in real estate.
Gotcha. So how long would you say you were doing those things before you got into real estate?
Well, I was in private practice for the 22 years.
Gotcha. 22 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be considered a career changer.
It was a major career change.
Well, I'm like you. I did the same thing. I was in oil and gas 27 years before I got into real estate. So we have a similarity there. So what made you want a career in real estate? Why real estate?
It's funny. About a decade prior to me getting my real estate license, my brother-in-law said to me, and it was just a passing statement.
Right.
He said, if you weren't a therapist, I think you'd be pretty good at real estate.
Really?
And it was like a little worm that just sat back there.
So that seed was planted.
It was planted. And when the time was right, I made the decision to get my real estate license.
Gotcha. So how long have you been in real estate now?
Since 2015.
Okay, 2015.
Yeah.
And so why did you choose Keller Williams? Is it the only company you worked at, I guess?
It's the only company that I've worked with in
why,
this industry.
Why Keller Williams?
So it was pretty interesting. I live in Clinton.
Got it.
I had I knew that I needed to do something different.
Okay.
And Continental Tires, there was rumors of Continental Tires coming in, and I thought, I need to do this.
Yeah.
And I spoke to a fella, he's now passed, but he worked for Century 21 in Clinton, and had coffee with him. And I thought, well, this is interesting. And in the meantime, I also said, I'm going to talk to another agent who happened to be with Keller Williams at the time, and sat down with him. And what I realized right off the bat is I was 49 years old. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I knew training was very, very important. Right. And Keller Williams by far had the training that we need.
Gotcha.
And an opportunity to build wealth without limits and profit sharing in the company. And it just made sense for me. So I actually made the decision on a Thursday. Friday morning, I started my real estate course online. Monday night, I was done. Saturday, I took my real estate exam, and Monday I showed up here and said, what do I do?
Wow, that's a fast track.
It was a fast track.
That's a fast track. So if you could tell your story, what would Mark Simpson's story be?
Starting where?
Well, you picked the starting point. It's your story.
Well, probably the most noticeable thing about me, and it always comes into the story, is I've got a left hook.
Yes.
All right. So life really shifted for me at 9 years old. I was playing Tarzan. I used to growing up, I'd Saturday mornings watch Johnny Weissmuller, Tarzan, black and white reels, and loved Tarzan. And I would run out most Saturday mornings and start swinging in the trees.
Really?
And it just so happened that Saturday morning, it had been raining, and I slipped out of the tree and I broke my arm.
Oh my goodness.
And my best friend at the time, a girl named Kelly, I had my own Jane, we were thick as thieves. And it was a compound fracture. It was a pretty bad break. She actually jumped behind the door, the tree, and just started going, "Oh, gross, oh, gross." And I told her, "Go get my mom."
So it was a compound fracture.
It was a compound.
Bone sticking out of the skin.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so fast forward, I ended up going to the hospital. Pediatrician looked at my arm and said, "This is a bad break. We probably need to open it up." Orthopedic surgeon said, "No, we don't need to do that. We'll cause nerve damage. We're just going to clean him up, sew him up, set it, put a cast on it, medicate. He'll be home in 2 hours." In 2 hours, I was home with a cast on my arm and a few signatures on the cast. Remember how people would do that?
Yeah.
What they didn't realize is they had left some dirt inside that happened to have an anaerobic bacteria,
Yeah.
which means that it thrives in environments without oxygen.
Right.
So that set off a cascading event of gaseous gangrene. By Monday, I was back at the doctor's office with a fever. Hey, don't worry, this is just the trauma of a break. Tuesday, I was back in the doctor's office in convulsions. They operated all day, all night, and had to amputate Wednesday
Oh my.
to save my life.
Yeah.
And even then, I was a sick little puppy. That pediatrician who I wish they'd listened to at the beginning, he connected with the doctors at St. Jude. And Phil, they came into my mom and my dad, and they said, Mark's septic. He's dying. And if we do nothing, he'll be dead in days. Now, we think we've figured out a protocol that could save his life.
Right.
Now, if we're wrong, he'll be dead in hours. But we're talking Hail Mary, fourth and long, time's running out of the clock, and it's fourth down, right?
Gotcha.
And it worked. So they tried this protocol. It saved my life. And
the protocol was taking your arm.
Well, my arm was already gone.
Oh, it was already gone.
That actually took care of the
septic,
the sepsis.
Gotcha.
And so that set in motion some powerful things for me. Number one, first thing I remember my mother saying to me lying in the hospital bed was, "So how are you going to tie your shoes now? I'm not tying them for you."
Wow.
And
that's tough love, isn't it?
Tough love. But there was also a young couple who brought me a pair of running shoes. The kind, if you remember Starsky and Hutch, the kind that Starsky would wear. And they said, "We want you tying your shoes before you leave your hospital." And I took on that challenge. My mom sat by my bed and she said, "This is how I would do it." I'm so thankful they didn't give me Velcro. She never touched my shoestrings. And I figured out how to tie my shoes. I used my teeth. And I was tying my shoes before I left the hospital. Now, I did that until I ran through a few mud puddles.
Right.
And figured there were some tastier ways to tie my shoes.
Gotcha.
But that really created in me a life of having to think outside the box.
Gotcha.
Having to problem solve, having to do things differently. And little did I know that it was teaching me to be empathetic of people who've been through tragedy.
Right.
Teaching me how to problem solve. Teaching me how to overcome things.
Wow.
And I ended up in college through a series of events and graduating. Ended up in graduate school to become a therapist.
Gotcha.
And what I thought was just going to be a little bit of time, buying a little bit of time to go on to seminary. I found out that counseling was a gifting. And I ended up getting a degree in marriage and family therapy. And would you believe it? Nobody wanted to hire a 26-year-old marriage and family therapist when I finished graduate school. So I opened up my own private practice. And 22 years later, I was still doing that. So that's kind of the story. And I had developed a wellness company, had helped a bunch of couch potatoes get off the couch, run marathons. I had franchised that company and I'd taken a few years off. And then that whole industry shifted.
Right.
And that's where I said, I need to do something different. And that old worm or seed, as you say, of my brother-in-law, Dan, saying real estate and the opportunity, I jumped in, came to Keller Williams and joined a team. I actually sold for about 8 months. And then you and I started having a conversation because there was a need for a new team leader.
That's right.
And in 2018, first of the year, or 2016 rather, became the team leader here for this market center and had a lot of fun doing that over the following 2 years.
Yes. And you were very good and grew that. And you took a turn there and went into developing a team, a mega team.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So after 2 years in this role, some opportunities presented themselves in the region. And one was becoming an expansion director for a regional team. And I helped develop an expansion team here that I ran. Developed an expansion team in Orange Beach. It was rough having to go to Orange Beach all the time. One in Lafayette, Louisiana. And just had a lot of fun. Really, my heart was in building that team here.
Right.
And I was able to bring on a couple brand new agents. And in 9 months, we created almost $8 million in production. I was still traveling about 4 days a week.
Right.
But really getting to pour into them, we saw some great things happen. And unfortunately, the runway for that expansion group was not where we needed it to be.
Right.
And so I transitioned at the first of this year, 2019,
Right.
working as a general manager with the Keller Williams regional director,
Gotcha.
overseeing and working with 3 of his market centers in Louisiana.
Right.
And to bring that all full circle, my life has gone through some changes. Recently, my father just finished a 6-year battle with Alzheimer's.
Mhm.
And so we got to say goodbye to him. And as I was looking at my life and looking at what I needed to do, my mother, who was married to him for 59 years here, my wife, I was on the road a lot, and I said, it's time to come home. Time to take care of my mother.
Right.
Be there more for my wife. And I think that kind of, you understand that part of the story.
Absolutely, I do.
And so I find myself back here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're back here now, and you're searching. You're looking for an opportunity for God to open up a door.
Right.
Yeah. And so we're sitting here having a conversation today. And so one of the questions I had is, if we're sitting here a year from now celebrating a great year for you, what does that look like, Mark? What are you doing with your life?
Well, Phil, one of the things that as this video is played and watched,
Right.
people will know that I am now the director of productivity for our market center.
Gotcha.
And that opportunity came open as you and Lee discussed that with me. And I'm excited about that opportunity. And so when I think ahead a year from now, I know there's 2 things that God put me on this earth to do, and that's build up people. And he's gifted me with an ability to build businesses.
Gotcha.
And a year from now, I want to see people whose lives are changed, that they've removed can't from their vocabulary.
Right.
They've expanded their territory and their reach, and that we're seeing people really achieve that life by design.
Gotcha.
That Keller Williams really affords us.
Gotcha.
And so I will, a year from now, I'll be high-fiving when I see people moving up the roster from beginner to quarter capper to half capper to 3/4 capper to capper.
Gotcha.
And I've got my eyes on at least 10 people that we're going to create cappers in this next year. And that's where we'd be high-fiving.
There you go. Well, I like that. That sounds good. I love making a positive impact in people's lives.
Yeah.
I believe that's what we're put on this earth to do, is to support, provide resources for those who are willing and have a desire to want more out of life.
Yeah.
We can't create the desire for people. They have to have something inside themselves.
Yeah.
But I believe that we can stand there and encourage them. I think you told me, fix me or correct this statement. I think you said that we have to believe in them enough until what?
Until they can believe in themselves.
Until they can believe in themselves.
When I go back to what my mom said, so how are you going to tie your shoes?
Right.
I'm not tying them for you.
Right.
There was an implied message there. I believe you can. It would be cruel to expect something of someone that they can't do.
That's right.
And so what I heard was a real blessing of, you've got what it takes, son. Had she rushed in and said, let me tie your shoes and let me do this for you, she would have crippled me. She would have said, you're incapable.
Right.
And so my approach to life has always been that of saying, I'm going to believe in you
God
until you can believe in yourself.
I love that. And God bless your mom for taking that position. Because as a mom, as a parent, how many times do we want to rush in and take care of our kids, and we are enabling them? She could have gave you the Velcro shoes, right?
Yeah.
And she didn't.
Yeah. And that was
cool.
always my philosophy. And I would tell people when I coached and counseled people through those 22 years, I said, I'm a sheepdog. I'm going to run. I'm going to bark. I'm going to nip. I'm going to nudge. I might jump on your back, but I've never seen a sheepdog carry a sheep, and I won't carry you.
Right.
And then when I transitioned into training 4,000 couch potatoes into marathoners, I'd say, I'm going to match you step for step. We can go slow. We can go fast. You won't outrun me, but I can't drag you 26.2 miles, but let's do it together.
There you go. I love that.
And that's my philosophy.
I love that. So let me ask you another question. Who was your role model and why?
I've got a couple different role models. One is, and I just got to see him at my father's funeral, was my pediatrician.
Gotcha.
Dr. Van Snyder, who saved my life. But he also did something beyond saving my life. Lying in the hospital bed, he was a coach. He was a pediatrician, but he loved to coach young boys,
Got it.
Pee-wee basketball. And he coached the War Eagles, which was the team. And he said to me there in the hospital, he said, "You're going to be on the War Eagles team next year." And sure enough, I ended up on his team. And that year we were 42-0. City, county, and state champs. A bunch of fourth, fifth, and sixth grade students.
Hang on a second. Now I want to slow you down just a second. I want the audience at home to understand. We've got this pediatrician that you look up to.
Yeah,
he's also a coach.
Yeah,
and this is the team of teams to be on, War Eagles. And you are, for lack of better words, I've
lost my arm.
You've lost your arm.
Yeah,
and so competing at that level. Right.
And he's saying, "I'm going to believe in you."
There you go.
I'm going to believe in you.
Until you can believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I love that story. That's awesome.
So he had a huge impact in my life over not only as my doctor, but for those next 3 years, being coached by just a calm, wise gentleman. And he was a great coach. Their colleges came to him because he would coach Junior Olympics and ask him to come coach. He goes, "I'm a doctor. I just love coaching kids."
There you go.
The other role model is Jim Rohn, business philosopher.
I totally get Jim.
One of the things that he always said was, "Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better."
There you go.
And that just has resonated with me in so many things. I had the good fortune of meeting him and seeing him in person several times in my younger adulthood. And just his thoughts, his style, his just do it attitude, which wasn't over the top, just has resonated with me. And he's been a mentor from afar. Yep.
I like Jim as well. I study Jim. I study the stuff he's in. I study leaderships. I study people like that. As a matter of fact, Gary, he wrote the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And that's a pretty cool title if you want to think about it. But that's not the one that stuck out to me. It's the subtitle. It says, "It's not about the money. It's about being the best you can be."
Right.
And so I'm with you on that. It's like, I don't wish it to be easier. I want to be better.
Right.
I want to be able to overcome whatever comes at me. Let's take it on and let's do it. And let's do it at a high level. Let's set the bar high. Let's lead people that want to go down that path.
Well, and here's the thing is, so many times our default is I can't. And I like to switch that to I haven't. I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
I intend to defeat it.
Yes, I intend to do this, and I haven't figured it out, but I can figure it out.
Right.
Whether it's, taking off my shoes and socks and holding a nail with my toes and swinging very carefully.
Yep.
I've got to drive a nail. It's not an option not to. It's how will I do it?
That's right. That's right. And here's the cool thing about it is that, listen, there may be things that absolutely my ceiling of achievement, I can't break through that currently.
Yeah.
I intend to break through it. I may need to get some help.
That's it.
Other people have lived before us. And so as a team, and that's what I love about your story, it's coaching, it's teamwork, it's working together. So tell me a little bit, what things do you like to do?
I love to create things. I love to build businesses. I love to find out what matters to people and what they're wanting.
Right.
And to get behind that and say, let's get there. It's really seeing what strides can we make and how can we build. So I'm a builder of people, builder of things. And that's what jazzes me. And sometimes you have to say, "Mark," and you've said to me, get out of creativity and do some of these things. But that's what I love to do.
Right. Right. What things do you not like to do?
Oh gosh, on the disc, my C on a scale of 1 to 100 is a 6, and so crossing T's, dotting I's, getting caught down in the minutia of just regulation and stuff. I hate to do that. I'd rather be relating. I'm a high ID, and so I like to relate and I like to get things done yesterday, and but getting bogged down in that. And I'll tell you the other thing. And I noticed this back when I was a therapist. I loved my clients. But dealing with the defeated people that didn't need to be encouraged, but they had just given up, it would drive me nuts. I can't. Well, let's do this. I can't. And I didn't tolerate that a lot. And I tell the story of a guy came to see me. His marriage was falling apart. And he basically looked at me and said, "Fix it."
Wow.
And
he didn't want to take any ownership.
He had an intense anger problem. And I
Uh-huh.
looked at him and I said, so how many books have you read on anger management? And he looked back and he goes, none. I said, and you're wanting me to fix you? I said, I won't even talk to you until you've read 6 books on anger management. Then I'll talk to you. And wouldn't you imagine? He stormed out of the office.
Sure.
I was an idiot. And he said 6 months later, he realized he was still angry and I was nowhere to be found. And he picked up a book to prove me wrong. And 6 books later, he'd figured out what was ticking him off. And he came back to see me. He says, I don't need therapy, but I want to thank you that.
Yeah. So let me get this straight, Mark. Are you telling me that you didn't tie that guy's shoes?
I didn't tie his shoes.
Didn't tie his shoes. Good for you, man. Good for you. Tell me about an accomplishment that you would consider to be one of the most significant in your career or life.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to zero in on Keller Williams.
Okay.
My first year as team leader, I had the honor of being a black belt team leader. And what that meant, there's 2 ways that you can become a black belt, and you can become a double black belt.
Right.
But one is to bring into the market center 120 agents.
Right.
The other is to keep in the market center 60 agents. Mm-hmm. So the goal is to gross 10, net 5 every month. So that's 120 and 6.
Right.
That first year, we grossed 108 agents. Mm-hmm. Now, to me, that was 108 people that we could get into relationship with. Mm-hmm. But my black belt came because we kept 68 of them.
Right.
Now, what people don't realize is every year, 30% of people are going to get out of business regardless. Mm-hmm. They're going to give up on their dreams. They're going to retire. They're going to change careers. It's like anything. But what was so thrilling to me was that those 68 people that came and stayed and grew, and some of them now I see on in leadership, and it's those lives that were impacted. So that felt good to get some letters from the CEO of Keller Williams,
right,
International. That was a big accomplishment. Now, we didn't have any black belts at the time in our region. Right. And now there's some that have blown away my record. Yeah. So I kind of feel like Roger Bannister breaking that 4-minute mile. And
well, you definitely broke the 4-minute mile here in this market center. And I'm excited that you've accepted this opportunity to step in and make an impact in people's lives in a big way. That's very, very exciting. And I look forward to the journey. What would you say your superpower is, Mark?
You know, I it's weird to say this, but I think it's encouragement.
Okay.
What I love about that word is that the root of it is courage, and being able to look at people. Some people have been encouraged to say, "Okay, I don't have an excuse." I've got, my daughters would always say, "That's not fair," and I'd say, "Hey, if life were fair, I'd have 2 hands, or y'all all have 1." But look, I'm an imperfect, wounded person who decided, and that's it. We all are. Some of us wear our scars outwardly, right, some inwardly. But to say, I'm going to pick up, I'm going to smile, I'm going to move forward, and so that superpower is to find out what makes somebody tick, not to manipulate, but to empower and encourage, to transfer that courage and believe in them until they can believe in themselves.
Perfect. I love that. That's a good ending. Let me ask you one final question. Is there anything I didn't think to ask you that you'd like to volunteer to our audience at home?
I'm a granddad.
That is exciting, isn't it?
And I'm a granddad. Jane she'll be 3, December 1st.
Very nice.
And then in March, I got another one coming.
Very nice.
And so had I known grandparenting would be so good, I would have skipped parenting and gone straight to grandparenting.
It's a thrill, isn't it?
I drove up and this is one of the things that I love about real estate is some flexibility. My daughter called me up and she said, "Dad, can you come to Grandparents' Day?" She's in South Haven, Mississippi. Yeah. And I said, "Yeah, I'm there." And was able to go up there. And when I pulled into the driveway, Jane came running out once my car stopped. And she said, "Pops, you're my best friend." And it's just like, wow, I get to do this.
So you're a pops too.
Oh, I'm a pops.
That's me. I'm a pops.
Yeah.
And it's been a joy and a blessing in my life. Well, this concludes this time with you, Mark, and we'll have you back and we'll do another one. You can see that we're changing lives and living the dream, and I'm excited that you're going to be a part of that journey and helping many, many people come and change their lives and have that kind of impact in our people's lives. It's very exciting.
I'm excited.
Cool.
I'm excited.
Very nice.
This has been a production of Keller Williams Realty in Flowood, Mississippi, located at 132 Riverview Drive, Suite A. To contact our offices, call us at 601-977-9411.